Today, we're diving into the brilliant mind of the poet and Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore. He had some really powerful things to say about organized religion and what it means to find a truly personal spiritual path. And honestly, his ideas feel more relevant now than ever. So let's get right into it. Right from the get-go, Tagore completely changes the game. He's not standing up like some prophet with all the answers. No. He says, I am a poet. He's telling us that his only real authority comes from a deep, profound love for life itself. This is so important because he's not handing us a rulebook. He's sharing observations straight from the heart. So what's really at the center of Tagore's philosophy? Well, it all boils down to this idea of an infinite search. He believed that for as long as we've existed, the human mind has been driven by this deep, almost unquenchable hunger for something more, a search for a truth that feels bigger than ourselves. And here's where it gets really interesting. Tagore didn't see this drive as something that's only human. He saw it everywhere, in all of nature. He talks about this universal push towards the infinite, this sort of love for eternity that's just woven into the fabric of everything that exists. You know, from a tiny blade of grass to the most distant star. But, and this is a huge but, he draws a really clear line in the sand. For animals, this drive for eternity is all about physical existence, right? It's about having offspring, passing on their genes, it's instinct. For us, for humans, it's a conscious search. We're not just trying to survive, we're actively looking for inner fulfillment, for a life that feels peaceful and wise. So with this deep spiritual hunger, what does humanity do? Well, Tagore looks back through history and points to these figures he calls Mahatmas, which literally means great souls. These were the deep thinkers, the visionaries, who forged paths towards truth and peace so that other people could follow them. And really, this is the noble origin story of all the world's religions. But this is where the story takes a really dark turn. Because what starts out as this beautiful, liberating path can, over time, twist into the exact opposite. The map that was supposed to guide you on a journey becomes a prison. And this right here is the heart of the problem. Tagore saw that as generations go by, that original, living, breathing spirit of the search just gets lost. And what replaces it? Dogmatism. Blind faith and rigid rules take over. And that personal quest for truth just hardens into a set of non-negotiable and often totally empty principles. And the fallout from this is just devastating. Real spiritual wisdom gets buried under layers of ritual. Human unity is shattered by division. Society's progress can just grind to a halt. This is how you end up with fanaticism, where people are willing to fight and die for a symbol, having completely forgotten the truth that symbol was supposed to point to in the first place. And that's the real tragedy in all of this. You have to remember, religion was originally meant to be a tool for liberation. It was created to help us reach a higher state of being, to set our minds free. But then, under the tight grip of priests, mullahs, and clerics, that exact same tool becomes a set of chains. It traps society, it suffocates free thought, and it stops new, enlightened ideas from ever seeing the light of day. The liberator becomes the jailer. Now, seeing this massive problem, Tagore doesn't just say, abandon spirituality. Not at all. Instead, he calls for us to rediscover what's real, to get back to the source, by breaking free from what he called the strong nets of tradition. Okay, so that brings us to the most important question, right? If all these established paths have become prisons, what's the alternative? How do we find what Tagore called the complete truth? For Tagore, this complete truth isn't some fixed destination you finally arrive at. And it's definitely not something you just inherit because you were born into a certain family or culture. No, it's a dynamic, deeply personal search. It's about training your own mind and heart to see the divine, not in just one book or one building, but everywhere, in all of creation. And isn't that just a beautiful and totally liberating idea? Truth isn't locked away in some special box. It's all around us, all the time, constantly revealing itself in the world. For Tagore, all of nature is just a different expression of that one single eternal truth. And this leads us to what is maybe one of Tagore's most powerful and challenging points. He says that when we claim our own religion is the one and only supreme path, we're not just being intolerant, we're actually accusing God or the divine of being partial, of playing favorites. We're trying to put a limit on something that's by definition infinite.
So, that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? Taking inspiration from Tagore's vision, how can we go on our own spiritual journey, our own search for meaning, and make sure that our path stays a path and doesn't end up becoming another prison? How do we, in our own lives, seek truth without just building new walls?